Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to start kind of an introductory series to the channel. I have a few fun topics that I'd like to discuss. Starting with some Bitcoin investing strategies, trading strategies, some technical analysis. I'd also like to do a video on fiat because I think that there's a lot of principles there that are really important and it kind of helps tie everything together. We really need to understand money and fiat currency and credit creation in order to navigate this space. Just it's pretty fundamental and one of the reasons why I got obsessed in the first place. And so anyway, so some principles there that I want to discuss, and then maybe later on we can get into some what is blockchain, kind of do a deep dive there on applications of blockchain, what it is, why it matters, why should we care, and in general, like why should we care about Bitcoin? Why should we care about investing? And yeah, just kind of go over some of those principles. So I guess we'll just dive right in. Today, I wanted to talk about some Bitcoin strategies, trading strategies, and maybe kind of some of the differences between, you know, are you going to be investing in Bitcoin long term, or are you going to try to be trading it? So right here is a all-time chart of the Bitcoin price. We have a little bit back in here from inception, but I just zoomed in on this right here. This line right here is the 200-week moving average. So that's basically a four-year average plotted out. So essentially, the price of Bitcoin over the long term, if I were to hide that, that's what the price of Bitcoin is doing over time. And then human beings get involved and they have emotions and things kind of get thrown out of whack. People get very greedy, people get very afraid, they get very greedy, they get very afraid. And if you average all that out, this is the long-term growth. So this is, I think, what a lot of investors will look at in general for a long-term investment. They want to know what is this doing over the long term. So this gives them an idea, and that's where a lot of investors find value. So, and that's typically also how markets work, where the first ones to the show are the investors. They're looking at, okay, well, we're at the 4-year growth curve of this asset. I'm pretty interested in it. And then in come the traders. They want to speculate around the price. And then later on in the cycles, when you get new participants who've never participated in financial markets before, and that really just drives the price out of whack, and things repeat. Basically, prices fall against them. All the newcomers, well, people that were holding back here are selling. You know, that bought down here, they're starting to sell some, and the late participants are all, puking their positions because the market went against them. And so, anyway, that emotional volatility causes some price volatility as well. Um, so basically, if you wanted to, because the 200-week moving average is basically a 4-year moving average. And so if you were just to buy Bitcoin once a week, this is what your portfolio would experience: a nice, gentle curve up with some periods of, you know, I guess outsized gains. There are moments of acceleration, of course. So as a very basic strategy, like the very first one. Oh, the other thing I want to mention, it has a 40% CAGR, which is compound annual growth rate. Basically meaning if you took the price gains in 4 years and then just average that out over 4 years, what would the effective compound rate be? And that's 40% a year. It means you're getting 40% return on your money every single year if you hold for that 4-year period. And so you can see that more clearly in this moving average, that this is really what you're experiencing, and that's about 40% a year right now. That's what it is right now. So I have a compound interest calculator here just for fun, just to showcase this most basic strategy that I could ever think of. Um, and that's investing $6,000 a year. Let's pretend you were able to work really, really hard and save $500 a month. And Bitcoin's getting about 40% compound a year right now. But I have over here, let's kind of be a little conservative over a longer term, because that will go down over time. I don't know how much, but it will go down over time. So to be a little conservative, let's go 30% compound rate um, for 10 years. And every year you're going to make an additional $6,000 deposit, $500 a month. What does that look like over 10 years? Yeah, over a 10-year period, you've earned over $250,000 in interest. Just in interest, you've earned over $250,000. Your ending deposit is $350,000. That's pretty wild. Over a 10-year period, I mean, that's pretty amazing. $500 a month, $280,000 in interest. Wow. Okay. So that could basically be the end of the lesson. Buy Bitcoin. Nothing else in the world returns 40% a year. It's a fact. It's just a fact. It outperforms everything. If you chart Bitcoin against anything, Bitcoin is gaining value over everything. It's gaining value over real estate, over gold, over silver, over the S&P 500, over the NASDAQ. It's gaining over everything. And so in future videos, we can talk about some of the, reasons why that is. But for now, really all you need to know is that Bitcoin is the top performing asset of the last decade and the top performing asset in human history. So if you want to hold it, and there are principles behind that it makes it so powerful. But that's probably just a subject for another video. So that would be if you were investing. And so now we can kind of start dipping our toe into like, okay, well, how can I trade around this? Because there are times where Bitcoin, is right at its growth curve. And if you were to buy, I mean, we'll go to this cycle. If you were to buy, not knowing anything about nothing, and all you did was, okay, I'm going to buy at the 200-week moving average, that cycle, even if you got out somewhere in the middle here, that's a 10x return just from simply buying here. And then what you could do is you have 10 times the money. Okay, well, you have 10 times the money that you started out with. You put that back in the market at the 200, even if you just right here, right when it hit the 200-week moving average, you're going to have to suffer a 30% loss. You made 1,000% gain. You need to suffer a 30% loss. This happened to be the worst bear market in history. And now that 10x is up 280, basically a 3x. So you've 30x'd your money in the span of 2 cycles. So that's also probably the most basic strategy that is extremely powerful. A lot of crypto is full of people who are basically degenerately gambling. This is like a proven fact right here. The data is here in the charts. And there's other fundamentals to go with it. Like Bitcoin's here to stay. It's proven itself. It's gone through its adolescence. It's here to stay. And it's proven that time and time again. It is proving that. So, so yeah, anyway, that's what I had to say about that. You can trade this by, maybe if you were investing too, maybe you buy more aggressively when Bitcoin is closer to its growth curve, because I would consider that basically its growth curve. So that's basically it for Bitcoin. I mean, and it's probably like the most supreme investing strategy in the world right now is buy a Bitcoin. Anything that you can do to turn your dollars into Bitcoin, you're going to be ahead, because, it wasn't too long ago that a house was $200,000, right? Now the average house is probably $400,000. Well, that same house that was worth $200,000, you needed several hundred Bitcoin to buy at one point. And now you need like 3 Bitcoin. So real estate, your purchasing power is increasing substantially with Bitcoin rather than the dollar, because obviously inflation means you're losing purchasing power over time. You're gaining purchasing power with Bitcoin over time. So if you want to save your money and save the value that you add to society, buy Bitcoin. And that's the trade of our generation. That's basically all you need to know. But if you want to go down the rabbit hole, we can get into how else are people trading this? And I have a couple charts here, down here that I can grab. Put myself up here and expand these real quick. Yeah, so Then basically enter the altcoins, which would basically be everything else besides Bitcoin. Bitcoin is number one, it's king. Um, but there are times where the altcoins will outperform Bitcoin. They're relatively short-lived periods of time, but it does happen. And so people really like to trade around that. And you can, like I said, at times you can get outsized gains. So I'm just going to go back to this particular cycle, the bottom of that cycle here. So I have two charts here. This one is the total cryptocurrency market. Basically, it's an aggregation of all cryptocurrencies out there. If you're not familiar with cryptocurrencies, that's what this channel is about. You'll get to understand that more. But other digital assets, basically, and this is the total altcoin market. And then this chart down here is Bitcoin dominance, basically a measurement of how much is Bitcoin as a percentage of the total market, all the altcoins and everything. So typically in bear markets or in bear markets, Bitcoin, this is hard to see right here. I cannot, well, okay. It's not doing a very good job here. Anyway, I'll go back to this cycle. Um as we enter the bear market, Bitcoin dominance actually increases, meaning money floods or rushes from those altcoins back into Bitcoin. And then, like I said, there are periods of time where these outperform. Basically, what people are doing is they're taking their profits from Bitcoin and they're using it to buy altcoins. So there will be a period of time, and you can see right here during this cycle, altcoins were doing basically nothing. And then right about here where this horizontal line is, things took off and the altcoins started going. And at the same time, Bitcoin dominance started plummeting. So there's a brief window of time in this market where, and Bitcoin is still going up at that time, but its dominance is going down, meaning more of the liquidity that's finding its way into the crypto market is finding its way into the altcoins. So there will be nice tradable windows where you can get outsized gains above and beyond BTC. So that's what attracts people to cryptocurrency and why it gets traded. It's what drew me to cryptocurrency, and especially I think people in my generation who are looking to, I mean, with monetary policy, it's pretty bleak. I mean, inflation is terrible and we need a way out. And the only way to get ahead, you kind of have to go farther and farther down the risk curve, at least for our generation, to have any meaningful gains. I mean, I could make 30% in the stock market, but unless if you had $100 million and you're making 30%, that's amazing, but I have $30. I have $100. I need to make more money. So it does attract a certain demographic as well. To better understand why people would trade, why would people trade these altcoins? Really, it's to get more Bitcoin because, like I said, your purchasing power over time, and we'll get into this in other videos, but your purchasing power, just know that your purchasing power in Bitcoin increases over time. So people want to use other assets, other vehicles to, there it is. They want to use other vehicles in order to get more Bitcoin. So this is a long-term chart of Ethereum, which is like the big daddy altcoin. It's the original altcoin. It's like the first other digital asset, basically. And you can see from this chart that like over a long period of time, it's not really outperforming Bitcoin. It seems like, it's going up into the right kind of, from inception, sure. But really what you can see is there are brief periods where Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin. So if your goal is to get more Bitcoin, theoretically, you could invest in Ethereum. Let's say we invested down here and we got out here. That isn't going to happen. But let's just say, there's a chance to get a 17. Yeah, excuse me. This would be an 18x on your Bitcoin. Meaning if you bought one Bitcoin's worth of Ethereum, at the end of this, you would have 17 Bitcoin. And that's insane. So that's why people are trading the altcoin markets, is for that brief window where there's a potential outperformance of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is outperforming everything. So basically, throw everything else in the fucking trash because Bitcoin's winning, outperforming everything. Okay, so you could just invest in Bitcoin, or you could stick around and find these opportunities in the altcoin space where they're going to outstrip Bitcoin. I do want to have a cautionary tale with that. I trade cryptocurrency markets. I really enjoy it. And when the markets are hot, they're hot. There's a lot of waiting. That's mostly what markets are. It's a lot of waiting, but when it happens, it's hot and it's quick, and it is very volatile. But I do want to just mention, let's go start this just at the beginning of this cycle, and then I'm going to add, do I have it on this one? I don't. Let me just add. An altcoin. XRP is an altcoin. It's really, really popular. It has a pretty cultish following. But really what I want to point out here, just to show how brief the outperformance is and what you're really looking for. If you look at Bitcoin has just been nice, steady march upwards, right? And as you can see from the cycle, that's a 414%. That's a 5x. So in 3 years, you got a 5x on your money. You buy Bitcoin, you got a 5x. Congratulations. You kept buying on the way up. That's fine. Maybe you're moving your average price up. Either way, from start to finish, it's gone up 400%. And XRP, we're right at the same amount. But the caveat to that is that you would have had to wait. I believe this is 2 years. If I measure this out, yes, from November to November, this was 2 years, and this XRP did nothing. This line down here is 0 as far as the percentage goes. And at one point, you were up 89%. But then you gave it all back. You're right back to 0. And it wasn't until October of last year that you started to see gains. But by that time, even by that time, you could have already been up right here, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, you could have already been up 270% on your Bitcoin. So what you could have done is you could have bought Bitcoin, and then right there when XRP was breaking out, maybe you take a little bit of that Bitcoin, put it into XRP, not a whole lot, but XRP goes up, it's 400% in that tiny window. Maybe you put, making math easy, I guess, maybe you put 20% of your profits in, and then it does a 5x, and now all of a sudden you have like a full position again. You've almost doubled your original position just by risking that small amount. So anyway, a lot of people, but during this whole time, everybody's obsessed with XRP. It's the best thing in the world. It's going to the moon. And this entire time, they're just totally losing the picture, and that's Bitcoin is winning. And I got to say, I've been blind to this too, because the allure of the potential gains is strong. But the reality is that Bitcoin is king. And if you're not beating Bitcoin, then there's no point. And if you are going to beat Bitcoin, I mean, you only beat Bitcoin by a very small percentage for a very brief moment of time. So you can't, buying and holding these things over the course of an entire cycle, you can. And I do have some positions that I do that with. But at the same time, like when the sun's shining, you got to take your profits and then be careful about when you're jumping back into the market too. I mean, and we'll get into that technical analysis as well. So I think that about wraps it up for this video. My goal for the next few videos is just to provide some really condensed content that will help really kind of give you a deep dive, at the same time, just a broad net, and we can go into more detail on any of this stuff later, but the concepts are powerful. If you buy Bitcoin and hold it, you're going to be making 40% a year. You can't get that anywhere else. That could have been the end of the video. If you stuck around this long and you're curious, well, there are other digital assets out there that have 3 to 4 to 5x potential from here in shorter periods of time. If you wanted to buy Bitcoin, but you didn't have that much, maybe you buy an altcoin it goes up 5x. Now you have 5 times more money to buy the Bitcoin. That is the most powerful thing. That's kind of the end game as far as this goes. And really, it is about jumping ship from the fiat system, getting out of dollars and finding something else that's actually going to preserve your wealth. And that's the game with Bitcoin right now. It just so happens that we're early enough on it in its growth that it has outsized gains. It's outpacing inflation by a lot. And so anyway, it's basically the trade of our generation and the biggest opportunity that I can see from here. And so, ride the rest of this cycle up, make a few bucks, and then find a safe way to get some yield on that for the next 3 years while the real estate market rolls over. That's the other thing that we're tracking. And then see what happens from there. See where it takes us. But anyway, hopefully you found that interesting. If you did, like, subscribe. I have a lot more intro videos to come and weekly content, just keeping abreast of the markets. I really just I've cast a broad net, so I have a lot of different resources, and I just thought it'd be nice to have a condensed place where you can say, like, what am I seeing? What's the bullish case? What's the bearish case? Simple. What am I tracking? I'm looking at these markets every day, so not everybody can do that. But if I can have a few videos here and there, help people along, that'd be great. Again, Telegram group below in the description. Please join. Just join, introduce yourself in the chat. Tell me where you are in your journey. We can help get you set up and anything you want to know. I love to teach. That's basically why I started this channel. So, it's pretty relaxed fit around here. Leave some comments, the things you like, things you don't like, style the video, whatever, let me know. And we'll just kind of keep cruising on and growing together. So, all right. Thanks, guys.